Chapter 3.7, we're going a little bit out of order, but I want to go ahead and show you how to solve absolute value equations while we're learning how to solve equations. By the end of this video, you should be able to, surprise, surprise, solve absolute value equations. A lot of times I abbreviate absolute value as ABS value. You can do the same thing. Okay, so example 1, when you're solving an absolute value equation, the very first thing you want to do is get the absolute value by itself. Just like before, you were trying to get the variable by itself, but this time you have to get the absolute value by itself first. So we're going to subtract 2 to get absolute value of x by itself, and we get absolute value of x is 7. There are two numbers that this could work for. What number? And absolute value, you'll remember, is the distance from that number to 0 on a number line. So which two numbers are 7 units away from 0 on a number line? Well, positive 7 and negative 7 are both 7 units away from 0 on a number line. The way you solve an absolute value equation is you take what's inside the absolute value and you set it equal to positive this, which is this answer. Then you set it equal to negative this, which is this answer. And that's your final answer. It says to graph and check your solutions. What you're going to do when you graph them is you're going to put the lower number on the left, the bigger on the number on the right, and you're going to put a dot on those numbers. You do need to put the numbers in between and number them correctly, but for the sake of time for the video, I'm not going to do it on the video. Guided practice number 1, I want you to pause the video and try this one on your own, and I'll give you the answer in just a second. Okay, what you need to do first is isolate the absolute value. So we're going to add 5. We get absolute value of n equals 3. That means that n could equal positive 3 and n could equal negative 3. And that's your final answer. It doesn't say to graph it here, so we won't. But if you did, you would just draw a number line and put a dot on 3 and a dot on negative 3. Example 2. Solving an absolute value equation from a word problem. It says that starting from 100 feet away, your friend skates toward you and then passes by you. She skates at a constant speed of 20 feet per second squared. Her distance from you in feet after t seconds is given by this equation. What time is she 40 feet away from you? So 40 feet is distance, so I'm going to replace d with 40. You have to think of that on your own. But since 40 feet is distance, I'm sure it's going to plug in for d for distance. It's not obviously not going to be t for time. Now you take what's inside the absolute value, which is 100 minus 20t, and you set it equal to positive 40, and you set it equal, so 100 minus 20t equals negative 40. So you got to do both. Then you solve those two separate equations. So we're going to subtract 100, and we get negative 20t equals negative 60. I'm going to rewrite that over here so I'll have more space to solve. If you divide both sides by negative 20, you get t equals 3. But you're not finished because you had the other equation, so you're going to subtract 100. And you get negative 20t equals negative 140. If you divide both sides by negative 20, you get t equals 7. So if she's 100 feet away from you, in 3 seconds, she's going to be 40 feet in front of you. And then in 7 seconds, she's going to be 40 feet behind you. So that your answers, you've got two answers. Your answers are 3 seconds and 7 seconds. Guided practice number 2, do this one and I'll give you the answers in just a second. You have to show your work on this one. I'm not going to do the work. You have to do the work. I'm just going to give you the answer. If the work's not shown when you turn in your notebook, you're not getting credit. Okay, so what you're going to do is plug in 60, and then you solve it. That's the part I'm not going to do. And you should get that she will be 60 feet away from you at 4 seconds and at 28 seconds. Okay, example 3. Solving an absolute value equation with no solution. You always want to isolate the absolute value first. So I'm actually going to highlight that absolute value. And then we're going to get everything else to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 12. And you do this the same way you solve an equation for x. We're just solving it for the absolute value. We get 3 times absolute value of 2x plus 9 equals -2. And then we're multiplying the absolute value by 3, so we're going to divide by 3. And we get absolute value of 2x plus 9 equals -2/3. Absolute value is the distance between a 0 and a number on a number line. Distance can never equal negative, so absolute value can never equal a negative number. That means that this statement is impossible, which means that is no solution. You can do the symbol or write the word, but it's no solution, and you don't have to go any further. If you did try to solve it, certainly you would get an answer, but it would be a wrong answer and it would not work. And plus, if you're on a test, the answer is no solution, but there will be other answer choices. And if you choose them, they will be wrong. You have to understand that absolute value cannot equal a negative number, and if you get that, it's no solution. Guided practice number 3. Pause the video, do this one yourself, and I'll get back with you in just a second. Okay, if you isolate the absolute value, you're going to add 5 first, and you get -2. Well, absolute value can never equal a negative number, so this answer is going to be no solution. Now, if you are doing this with me on the video, you need to have all of your work showing. You cannot just put no solution for this example and expect to get credit for it. Guided questions, you need to show every single bit of your work to get credit. If you don't, you are going to get a 0 for your homework tonight. Solve these 4 questions, then bring it to me. Now, when I say solve, I mean write down the question, show each step, and then give me the answer and bring it to me tomorrow for proof you did your homework.